There is a very interesting Gemara in Yuma Daf Tes that you probably already know that doesn't seem to make any sense at all. And the Gemara writes that the reason that the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed was because they were doing the Gimel Averis Chamuros. They were doing the worst three sins: Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayos, and Shvichas Damim. And yet still, it wasn't considered so bad. And that's why it was actually rebuilt after only 70 years. But the second Beis HaMikdash, even though for the most part they weren't really doing such bad stuff, but the reason that it was destroyed was because they had sinas chinam. They had baseless hatred. And the Gemara says that you see from here that sinas chinam is actually just as bad as the Gimel Averis Chamuros. And the obvious question is, what exactly is so bad about sinas chinam that not only is it just as bad as the Gimel Averis Chamuros, but you see that it's actually worse, because the second Beis HaMikdash still has not been rebuilt until this very day. And the Gemara says that the main difference between the Averis of the first Beis HaMikdash and the second Beis HaMikdash was that during the first Beis HaMikdash, Risha'im hayu ela shetalu b'tchainam b'Hashem. They were doing wicked things, but they kept their trust in Hashem. And the Vilna Gaon explains very beautifully in Bir HaGodei Shel Rabbi Bar Chana that during the first Beis HaMikdash, they were doing terrible physical Averis, but their hearts were pure. They always kept their trust in Hashem. But during the second Beis HaMikdash, it was just the opposite. They were sitting and learning Torah all day long, and they were doing tons of mitzvahs. They were even doing a lot of chesed, but their hearts were not pure. And how do we know their hearts weren't pure? Because they had sinas chinam. And says the Vilna Gaon that anyone that has sinas chinam, there is no question that they do not have bitachon in Hashem. And that is why it was considered even worse than if they would have done the Gimel Averis Chamuros. And to really appreciate and understand what the Vilna Gaon is saying, we need to first stop and think, what exactly does it mean to have sinas chinam, baseless hatred? You may have thought that it means that you hate someone for absolutely no reason at all. You know, maybe he's a little different than you, or you just don't like his vibe, or maybe he has different opinions than you. So, in short, the hatred you have is pretty much completely baseless. But, of course, the truth is that that's the easy part. You know, it's easy to go to the Siyum Shas and look around and say, I love everyone here. I love all types of Yidden. You know it's not easy. Loving the person who actually caused you pain. The boss who fired you. That relative who's always talking condescendingly to you. The guy in shul who always steals your seat. Or the guy who said Lashon Hara about you and ruined your shidduch. Those are the people that it's really hard not to hate. And you may be thinking, hold on, wait a second. That's not baseless hatred. I could explain to you very clearly why I hate the guy. How can you call that baseless? But says the Vilna Gaon, it's very simple. If you have bitachon, and you believe that Hashem is the only one who's in control of everything that happens, then you'll know that this person's not the one who hurt you. He's just Hashem's messenger. Because even though, of course, he had bechira to choose to hurt you, and of course, there's no question that he's going to get punished for it. But Hashem only allows people to actualize their choices if anyways he knows that this is the best possible thing that can happen to you. For example, someone could pull the trigger to try to kill you. But if Hashem doesn't want you to die, then he's going to make the gun jam. So even if someone hurts you, you know that they are not actually causing you any more pain than you would have gotten regardless. And so if you live your life with bitachon, then even if someone else hurts you, you'll know that it's still baseless hatred, because they're just Hashem's messenger. They're the stick that Hashem decided to use to try to challenge you. And then you'll be able to really love everyone, no matter what they've done. And Rav Dessler brings this Vilna Gaon, and Rabbi Yerucham Levavitz also writes this, that if you live your life with bitachon, and your heart is pure, like it was during the first Beis HaMikdash, then the only way that the Yetzer Hara can get to you is by giving you extra strong taivas for physical averos. But then even if, unfortunately, you're nichshel, you fall, still right away you'll know that you did something wrong. So right away you'll do tshuva. Which is why, even after the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, right away it was rebuilt. But if you do not live with betachin, and your heart is not pure, then you won't even realize that you're doing anything wrong. So you'll never do tshuva. And that is why the second Beis HaMikdash still has not been rebuilt to this very day. And this may be hard for you to hear, but Rav Dessler writes a very strong statement that you should probably look it up to see for yourself. It's in Mechnam Eliyahu Chelek Aleph, page 165. And he says that there are many people that talk on a daily basis without the belief that Hashem is running the world. For example, they'll say, you know why that fellow, that guy is so rich? It's because he's a very shrewd businessman. Or you know why that army is winning? Oh, because they have the best strategy. And we could do this on a daily basis. And you never even think for a second that you're doing anything wrong. But says Rav Dessler, and I quote, it's avodah zara temuna. It's hidden avodah zara in your heart. You are not living with the belief that Hashem is running the world. So you could be sitting and learning 20 hours a day and be doing every chumrah of every mitzvah. And yet still, if you don't live your life with betachin, then says the Vilna Gaon, you're worse than the guy who's doing the gimel averis chamuris. And your heart is not pure, and you're never going to do tshuva. And that is why Moshiach is not here. And the Beis HaMikdash has not been rebuilt. And so tachlis, your avodah, this Tisha B'Av, of course, is not just to be sad for the sake of being sad. Rather, the whole point of the Avelis is for us to realize that the reason the Beis HaMikdash is not here is because of our Averis right now. Like the Yerushalmi writes in the beginning of Yuma, that every generation that the Beis HaMikdash is not rebuilt, it's as if it was destroyed again. And more specifically, the reason it's not here is because of our lack of betachin, which is the number one cause of sinas chinam. And so let's all make a strong decision to start working on strengthening our betachin on a daily basis, more and more, and start talking only with betachin. And then we'll be able to really feel in our bones that all hatred is baseless hatred. And then, like the Medrash writes in Yalkut Shemaini, she'ein hagolios miskantzos, elo b'schar ha'emuna. It's going to be the zechus of our emuna and betachin that's going to get us out of this galus.